Blane Charles Media presents In the Studio with Anthony Santuoso, right here coming to you live from Anthony's Atelier. We are celebrating his One Man show, and here it is. Yes. Once Upon a Picture at the NoHo M55 Gallery. It is going to be up until February 17th. I have my autographed copy. Thank you very much. I got the last catalog at the show. You know, you sold out. All the catalogs sold out. It was amazing. At 79, how does it feel having a one-man show?
Well, it's kind of exciting to get to look, I've been at this now for 62 years painting pictures. I've been practicing Nichiren's Buddhism for 38 years. And to tell you the truth, when I started practicing, my entire life changed because I went from being a construction worker to being a teacher.
Wow.
And it just kept me alive. It inspires me, it gives me life force. And I learned to fight back really hard.
Yes.
Because the world is not always so cooperative when you want to be an artist. And then I got ill too. So I'm fighting to stay alive. And the Buddhism of Nichiren Daishonin really does work. Yeah. Really, really does work. It transformed my entire life.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me just preface that this one-man show at 79 is on the tail of Anthony battling with a very rare form of blood cancer.
Blood cancer,
yes. And this has been 2 or 3 years you've been fighting this, right?
About 2 years.
2 years. And so to be able to do this one-man show, on top of that, also speaks to the power of connecting with the law of the universe. So for those who don't know, we know each other through the Soka Gakkai International, which is a international world peace organization based on the tenets of Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism. And if you haven't read Tina Turner's last book, Happiness Becomes You, please go out and get it on Amazon, audio, print, hard copy. This is the only book I've read more than 10 times. Because in this book, she waited till she was 80 years old to speak about how she overcame all her challenges through the practice of connecting with the universe. And we both just did Evening Ganyo. It's a wonderful feeling. You actually feel like you're connecting to the universe when you chant. And we have what we call our Butsudan, which is house in Japanese. And inside we each have our own Gohanzen. And we were just talking about how wonderful it was when we received our Ogatake, which is one of the Gohanzens you receive, which is larger after many years of practice. And so it's really an honor to have this Gohanzen, which I received mine in May 2001, and you received yours a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we also had the pleasure of bumping into each other at FIT, which is by alumni. I also was a model there, and Anthony has a myriad of students who showed up at the show who are so inspired by your success and your never give up spirit. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, we better talk about it because honestly, there's a lot of forces at play that make it very difficult to continue to do. Look, making paintings is a kind of a gamble. It's not like having a job. You access these ideas from my own mind. Is how it happens for me, and you try to find a way to picture them. And basically what I am is a kind of storyteller.
Yeah.
And I use the pictures to tell a story. And to me, that's very exciting to be able to communicate through imagery. And I think it's a way to really get into people's heads. I know it's a way to get into my head because I'm making all these discoveries in the process. Sometimes the pictures come out of dreams, sometimes they come out of reading, sometimes they come out of just simple conversations, sometimes you never can tell where they're going to come from. But the idea of seeing value in these things that I do is, it makes me continue to do it. I want to communicate to people, I want to connect to people, which means I got to go into my own head.
Right.
I got to rearrange my psychic, my mental capacity. I got to get into a positive state of mind. I can't. These things are not done out of any other way. Creativity is a peaceful process.
Right.
It's not an angry process for me, at any rate. It's a peaceful thing, and it's a way of really getting to know yourself as much as anything else, and then trying to share it with other people. And like I said, the practice really helps me do that. It gives me hope that this is possible. This is possible. I'm not just doing this for myself.
Well,
honestly.
know, I think that this is an amazing piece right here. Like your work, it speaks for itself. I mean, this is a whole story within itself. It's entitled January 6th. It's part of the show, this collection. And I just feel like, one of the reasons why I'm so honored to be able to have this opportunity to chat with you is because I wanted to speak to the transformative power of your work. Through art, we are able to bring attention to issues that need to be discussed and need to be addressed. And you're doing that through your work. Like, for example, January 6th, would you like to talk a little bit about that Trump sign that's behind you?
Well, like I said, my imagery comes from many places, and sometimes it's current events. And I was shocked when I saw what happened on January 6th, and I felt almost an obligation to memorialize it. Not exactly celebrate it, but just make it clear that this did in fact happen. And give it pictorial presence, real pictorial presence. It's a kind of it's a kind of a violent painting, but it's also very beautiful in its own way, because of the way things move, the way that the parts fit together.
Yes.
It's a composition. Everything is a composition, and everything has meaning. As somebody said, "Oh, look, all your paintings, everything has a meaning in it. Everything has a meaning." I said, "Well, that's what poetry is.
Yeah.
You don't just use words for the sake of words. You use it. And it's the same way with imagery. You don't just put things in just because you want to make a picture of something. It's because it has some meaning, and it serves the purpose of the picture, the expression of the picture." Look, I used to explain it very simply to my students. I have what I call an expressive imperative, something which I feel must be said, and then I try to find what I call plastic equivalents. In other words, what kind of shapes, what kind of colors, how do these parts move together? And it's a great experience. It's a creative experience. It's like writing poems, really, trying to write words in the right pace of things and how the things fit together. So that's what I do. I get an idea, I can't get it out of my head, and I try to find a way to give it presence as a plastic, visual presence.
So you actually are writing with your brush?
Yeah, I'm telling a story.
Well, yeah.
Excuse me. So I've been at this now for 62 years or more, and I've been practicing for 38 years, and I'm sure that the practice has brought my work into be much more actually, when I started the practice, I shifted from painting things that I looked at to making things up, inventing things. So the ability to invent things, to find things within my own head, because that's where they come from, and then give that presence is, it's, to me, that was an amazing thing. I said, well, how am I going to do this? Well, let's see what happens. And I got into it, and I was able to do it.
Well, talking about imagination, Aramim's Dance was one of my favorite pieces from the show. And interesting enough, this piece, when I saw it, spoke to me about the power of freedom of expression, the power of living in authenticity, and the power of really owning your uniqueness. And then now, I'd love for you to give your.
Well, that's another thing. See, people look at pictures and they come to their own conclusions.
Yeah.
I was trying to express something about the impulse towards war and anger. And actually, I had these three characters I created. One of them was Ahriman, which comes from an ancient Zoroastrian mythology. Another one was Lucifer, which is from somewhere else, and the other one was Mamona, which has to do with money and possession of things. So I use these three characters to tell stories about greed, anger, and ignorance.
Right.
Really. And I did some paintings which are not in, I don't think they're in the book, where children are confronting these three negative forces, because I wanted to paint a picture about hope.
Yes.
And how, these things don't necessarily have to be, take over. And the young people, like youthful people, have an input. They're not corrupted the way the adults are. So I wanted these innocent children to be confronting these three evil forces, which are basically greed, the Mamona character, anger, which is the Araman character, and it's ignorance, we call it. The Lucifer is like getting things all wrong, self-indulgent things. So I made several pictures of them. Actually, there's a picture of the three characters in that book, side by side, like voguing almost.
Oh.
You'll see them side by side. They're in there somewhere. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's them. That's all three of those characters. So I invented these characters more or less. They're my actors. And then I put them into play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for taking out the time. I know you're still fighting, battling this illness, and it took a lot of energy for you to come here today and to speak with our audience and just tell us a little bit more about your inspiration and your work. Two things I wanted to ask you before we go. One, what do you do for fun in your spare time? What do you love to do that brings you joy?
Well, when I was well, I'd like to go out into nature. I'd like to walk through the woods or along the ocean somewhere at the seaside. I really love being outdoors as much as anything. Look, if you're a painter, you spend an awful lot of time by yourself indoors. So the ability to go outside, even just take a walk with somebody in the woods or at the seaside, it's a great thing. It's life-giving, But so is being here, but I gotta,
You gotta get outside.
I gotta go for a walk.
And talking about youth, the youth are really, it's so critical that we support our youth, that we inspire our youth, because they have the power to create change, positive change in the world. And before we go, I would love to get some words of wisdom from you to all of our viewers, all of young and young-minded, about never giving up on your dreams, or just whatever words of wisdom you'd like to share.
Well, sure. One of the things we always talk about is never give up. But fundamentally, in order to win at anything, you got to be able to control your mind and not let your mind control you, especially in a mind like mine, which can go all over the place. I have to be able to be the master of my own mind and not let it master me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do any of these paintings, or I wouldn't even be alive now, to be honest with you, because I have a tendency to go into the negative side of things. So I catch myself.
Yeah.
The practice allows you to see your mind and what's going on in your mind. And that, is very important, because you're not just on automatic pilot. You are in charge of what's going on. You can make changes in your life. You can change the way you think. You can change the way you act. And it's very important to be the master of your own mind. It really is, and not let it master you.
Thank you.
Because there's a lot of stuff that goes on up there. It's a complicated zone.
It's a constant battle, right? Exactly. Well, before we go, I just want to make sure that everybody gets to NoHo M55 Gallery on 548 West 28th Street. The show is up until February 17th. Once Upon a Picture, Anthony Santuoso. And thank you, Anthony, for taking the time out to share with our audience. I'm looking forward to featuring you on my Transformation Tuesdays with BCD, because your work is very transformative. And thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, Blane.
And
it really is my pleasure. I wish I could get a little clearer and a little deeper into these things, because it really is very important to know what you're doing and not just be swept away and going. You don't want to go through life on automatic pilot, just reacting.
Right.
You want to initiate things, not just react.
Yes, be proactive.
Yeah, that's correct.
I hope you guys are inspired by this wonderful opportunity to Listen to the wise words of Anthony. And stay tuned for more exciting episodes on Transformation Tuesdays with BCD. Coming to you live from Anthony's studio is Blane Charles Media. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much, Blane.